Welcome to the first episode of NittyBiddies, and we're going to be reviewing Netflix's Mindhunter. And I'm going to put a disclaimer here right now about everything past this point is going to be spoilers of episodes 1 through 10. So if you haven't seen the series or you're not completely through with it and you don't want to hear any spoilers, I suggest you kind of back away from this podcast and watch the series. I'm Alex.
I'm Judy.
And here we go. Let's dive in. So, what did you think of this first season of Mindhunters?
First season of Mindhunters was really great. I first was introduced to Mindhunters a few years back by a radio show called The Mindhunters.
On KFI, right?
On KFI, and this was in the LA area. It was on Saturday nights. It was only a few days out of the week because the retired FBI consultant was Johnny Douglas. And Johnny Douglas is the FBI agent that Holden Ford is based on. And he was completely fascinating. He wrote a book, and of course the book is the inspiration for this series. Now the series itself, I think it's great. I really think it's great. I like the fact that they introduce the serial killers. They don't get too graphic into the serial killers, which is really what I was expecting. I was expecting them to get really into the graphic, but it's very subtle, and it's not about the crimes. What I like is they're really showing the fact that it's how it affects the FBI profilers, and they're there to in no way rehabilitate these guys. And that was a different attitude for the prison system. They just don't care to rehabilitate them. They're there to get information to help prevent.
Well, Holden brings up that in the first couple of episodes about the fact that you notice the trend of these serial killers is that they not are incarcerated, but they're put into mental hospitals at an early age in the hopes of being rehabilitated. And makes the point out in saying that what if the fact that they were put away so early actually caused some discrepancy in their behavior that caused them to be this way? I mean, along with the extended abuse from parental figures. So it's an interesting concept that Holden brings out, is the fact that these prison systems, these mental institutions, are not even instituted to rehabilitate people, but to keep them out of harm's way, or guess, or something like that.
They're just keep them locked up,
yeah,
so they can protect the private citizens from these people. But he's not looking to rehabilitate them.
No. I mean, at this point, he's
looking for is to find out the reasons in their childhood that caused them to be like this.
He's looking for patterns.
Yeah, looking for patterns. Looking for patterns. That's exactly. So that's Holden's character. I love the fact that they have him paired up
with Bill Tench.
Bill Tench,
Holt
yeah.
McCallany.
So
McCallany.
I want to see how that's going to go. I think that after the Pinto accident in there, I was really getting the vibe that Bill Tench is really more of a father figure,
as you said, yeah.
To
Holden.
To Holden, yes. Throwing me off here.
Sorry.
So, I want to see if they're going to explore that. And I also want to see if they're going to have Wendy Carr, who plays, of course, the female FBI consultant. I guess she's working for the FBI, so I don't know if that makes her an agent.
I don't think she's an agent. They really just consider... They seem to just state that she's an outside consultant or a consultant.
When she gets her own office, though, she's working for them.
She does, but that doesn't necessarily make her an agent.
She gets her badge.
You can have a badge, that doesn't make you an agent. You know, there's other fields in the FBI in which you can work.
So,
but her dynamic with everybody is really interesting.
I love the character. I love how
Wendy. She's awesome.
They have her come in, and she's not she is not the dumb girl or the girl that has to dress like she's the so hippie, or they don't have,
or
they
the follower.
Yeah,
She's her
she's
own
definitely the
independent
leader, and she's definitely excited. And I love that I love the fact that the character of Bill Tench, he's the senior officer. He does not trust his partner because his partner's young, and this sounds like a wacky idea, but he kind of sees something there. And Bill Tench goes to Wendy to confirm, is this wacky or not? Basically, I'm paraphrasing. And Wendy sees it. She gets excited, and he could tell she's excited when she's like, well, if you're not going to do anything with this, I'm willing. And Bill Tench's character was not willing to do anything with it. But at that point, he's like, hey, you know what? We're still playing without this. We're going to be doing it on the weekends.
The scene you're talking about is when they're introducing the idea of profiling or the idea of interviewing serial killers to discover their patterns.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought you were talking about the idea that he was going to her to discuss, like, the changes that Holden starts having.
No.
Which he does start having.
He does. But no, this is the very beginning. And that's when he realizes, okay, if she's excited about this,
there's something there.
But then that gives way to her character. Like, her character has the respect of a senior FBI officer, which her character should have that respect.
No, yeah, totally. And she's an older character too. They didn't just like shoehorn some 20-something-year-olds in this role to, I don't know. I mean, they have that 24-year-old, the girlfriend, but even she's a psych major or a sociology major, and she holds her own. Each one of these characters hold their own, you know?
Yeah.
None of them are followers. You know, they don't, even Holden, who is the younger FBI agent, doesn't have the, like, wide-eyed, puppy-eyed look or whatever. He's determined to prove that he's right. And in doing so, he starts getting a little narcissistic once he starts discovering that there's something there, that he's making a breakthrough, I guess, would be somewhat of a term, into this profiling world.
Yes.
And he gets so narcissistic to the point where he starts disregarding everybody's advice because he's getting this sort of, not God complex, but you know what I mean. That feeling of superiority. Which, if anything, this is exactly what they were talking about, starts with the serial killers.
Well,
is they have that sense of superiority over life and death and everything. It's a very weird parallel between this FBI agent Holden.
Why don't you explain the fact, just the gist of the show?
Okay, so we have Holden, who starts off as a hostage negotiator. And he starts asking...
Not a very good hostage negotiator, may I add. Like, I won't give you any spoilers on this, but he not the greatest.
So we put the disclaimer in, though. We could do it. We're going to talk about that guy, though.
No.
Yeah. So he starts off as a hostage negotiator, and he towards the like middle of the first episode, he starts asking why, and he starts going to other instructors in the FBI building and asking him, well, why do people do this? And the whole thing of it was, you start asking questions that haven't been asked before. You know, you start noticing patterns that people really haven't noticed before, and he builds off that into creating the first behavioral analysis unit, or what do they call it? Behavioral science.
We might have wanted to open with this.
It's
yes, and then he gets paired with his partner,
and to do basically just road work, as they called it, which is instructing local cops about, what was it? Just what were they? Just I kind of forgot about that.
You know, instructing cops on how to interview criminals and things of that nature. But the local cops would come up with it. Afterwards, would always come up to them with, of course, these weird cases that involved really creepy,
the first time,
mutilations of women and things like that. But no, Bill said dollars to donuts. He's going to come up. He's just waiting across the street. So he had already been experienced with this.
Yeah. Well, the first time I want to say the first time that Holden brings up his
Theories.
sociological theories, and they bring this case up to him. The guy who was involved with the Manson murders, when he was trying to really, I don't know, scare the sociology into these people, he gets talked to about this case. This local police chief talks to Holden and Bill about a case he's having trouble with. And at that point, it's way too early for them to make a decent profile because they don't even know where to start or what to look for. In that case, the police chief gets upset with them for spouting all this quote-unquote nonsense and not being able to implement it. So it was an interesting it's interesting dynamic that they were going for, an interaction that they had, because you had somebody who actually, like, first he threw away the idea that this is anything. Then he comes to them asking for help and gets upset when they can't do anything as of yet because they don't have enough base information to apply.
Yeah. But of course that changes. I like how they do have this female. I like the fact that they slowly introduce the fact that she is not interested in Holden, and then find out that she is a lesbian, but they don't make that the main focus of her character.
Right, it's not like a main character trait.
I love the
It's such a natural relationship she has.
Yeah, I love the soundtrack.
Yeah, soundtrack was great.
The soundtrack, I love it when the FBI, I'm sorry, my eyes hurt. I love it when their unit chief comes up to them, calls them to their office. I'm sorry, calls them into their office, and basically says, somebody has applied for a grant. And at that moment, you know it's Wendy. You know it's her.
No. He applied for the grant.
Well, no, he applied for the grant, but she had also applied for the grant.
No, she did not.
I thought she did.
No, he said he applied for the grant, but he was like, for something that I was waiting for months to be approved, seemed to have gotten approved
quickly. And
really
that's
quickly.
When she said, well, I do
They
know.
seem to know what's happening more than I want them to know. I wonder who could have told them.
And that's when Wendy realizes.
Yeah, she was like, well, I was talking to colleagues, or she was at an event and they came up and...
Because it's just natural for people in her field to discuss patients and things like that, to get feedback. That's so natural. But now she realizes, oh no, I'm part of FBI.
Yeah,
and of course, though,
their secrets
everybody's so excited about the work that it just got approved quickly, and now everybody is watching with that searchlight.
What was it, 200,000 and then 185,000?
That was 300,000. But after
it was like 200,000 from one place, and then another place topped on top of the 200,000 added in 185,000.
Well, here's the deal. After the scene, they go into the elevator, and everybody has nobody talks.
Yeah, it's like
everybody has a they
start with a stoic face, and you're like, okay, and then they kind of like start smiling, and it's just like, oh my god, this is actually happening. It's really an endearing scene.
And is there more you want to add to that?
No, that's it. We could talk about Ed Kemper. Edmund Kemper. Unless there is more to discuss about these characters, but I feel like they're very well-rounded characters. They feel so natural when introduced and in their relationships. The only one we haven't actually really talked about would be Debbie Mitford, Holden's girlfriend. But she's not really on too many times, and she's very much seems like a sounding board for Holden to bounce off of and get ideas from, or basically vent to, in a way. You can also see how he takes on how his relationships become I don't want to say hostile, but as he's interviewing these serial killers, a lot of his relationships between his partner, between his girlfriend, around people around him start to dissolve.
Yeah.
So Ed Kemper, first serial killer they actually ever interview. And I actually got to see some of Ed Kemper's live interviews, and they're really creepy. The guy who plays him, what's his name? Edmund Kemper. Cameron Britton does an amazing job at portraying this man, because he really does sound like him. He has the mannerism of him. It's really creepy how non-threatening this guy is. And if you don't know, Ed Kemper is a serial killer who how many victims did he? He had 10 victims between the time of 1964 to 1973. The first being his grandparents, moving on to, like, I think he was called the co-ed killer, to various women, ending then with his mom and his mom's friend.
Yep, he sure did. He killed a lot of people.
Yeah. So what did you think about the interview process? What was going through your mind when they started interviewing Ed Kemper?
I thought he was very nice, and I thought he was very polite, and I thought he was a very sympathetic character.
Ed Kemper?
I think people felt sorry for him.
And that didn't creep you out? The fact that he was so...
Most men that go to jail,
Yeah.
they always become very nice. They're
Well,
lonely as hell, and they become very nice. Don't get me wrong, not all of them. Obviously, Charles Manson. But Ed Kemper didn't hate men. He hated women. He did
Well,
not
he hated his mother. It stemmed from that. It was projected from that.
I'm sure he didn't love any of the victims he killed. So he did,
No, I hear you. Yeah.
he did not like women.
But it goes to, I mean, it's to the point where he mentions if his mother hadn't been so abusive towards him, he would have been fine. He would have never sought out to kill anybody, because this was a projection of his mother. And it's always something to do with the past of the parents that they bring out in this series. Each one of them, it seems that they were all institutionalized at a young age, and that they all came from abusive backgrounds. So that seems to be the theme for this season. And then I guess we'll get into other themes in season 2.
Well, what I really liked is the soundtrack, as I was going to say. And there was a scene where they're getting their money and their grants, and it's awarded to them. And then the scene is they're going down the elevator, and they're all smiling, and they're all smug and happy. And at that moment, you hear the soundtrack. And it's music, it's the song, and it's a song that does not fit. It just does not fit in for serial killers, but boy, it surely, it fits that scene.
Well, yeah, they fit it for the scene, not for... Why would they fit it for serial killers?
Well, no, but the scene, it's a very hippy-dippy song, and it's very, calling occupants of interplanetary crafts, saying you can transport your mind and do things with your mind that you can, and it's true, because at this moment, these 3 people, their mind is just beyond what anybody else can do. And they're just smiling and happy with themselves. I think that's the last time that they're really happy with themselves before they go on to this dark journey. It's a very happy ending.
Down the rabbit hole.
It's but they even played Talking Heads.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was right when they get their actual office. I use quotation marks because it's like lower level basement, sub basement, around the corner, which I really love the walk that they put into that. You get off the elevator, you go into the hallway, you walk down the hallway, you make a turn, not only does it add to the fact that they're lower level, but just how far it takes to get to the actual office makes it seem even more, just like underground in a way. The drudgery of having to make the walk down there.
Yeah.
So it shows you how much faith that they put into the behavioral analysis unit or the behavioral science unit to begin with, because they didn't think it was going to go anywhere at all. But the soundtrack, I think, matched up really well with each scene. It amplified a lot of what they wanted you to feel in it too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I felt like I felt that having Psycho Killer by the Talking Heads was really appropriate. I thought it was kind of funny.
I keep thinking about the elevator scene and how you stated that they were like, oh, they were so happy and everything, and the first thing that popped into my mind is like they didn't even realize they realized the crap that they were going to get into, but it's like almost I almost feel like they were a little naive in that one scene after knowing everything that happens next, the breakdowns that Holden starts having, the just sheer degrading of relationships you start seeing, because you have Bill and he has a family. He has a wife and a child who they don't state it, but we're assuming is possibly autistic. And you just see that him and his wife are drifting apart. Lack of communication and everything. But in the fact that Bill doesn't want to talk about his work with her. He wants to protect her from that world. He wants to protect him, his son, and his wife from that world. And in doing so, feels like he's pushing her away. And then you have Wendy, who leaves her girlfriend to be at Quantico and ends up being so alone she's trying to find companionship in a cat that she's never seen.
I know what you have said in the past, that the cat was about the thing of loneliness.
That's what I think.
Where I'm thinking the cat might be loneliness, but it's very subtle, because you just see Wendy's possibly being ambitious. But I really think the cat emphasis is she's trying to save the cat.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that it shows that is just an analogy for her trying to save women. Like, we need to keep the study together. It needs to be the same. The questionnaire needs to be the same, so we can study it as the patterns. She's coming at that angle, so it can be accurate, so we can get a good case study, so we can prevent these killers from killing more people. And I think with the cat, she's trying to save the cat. She's trying to save the cat from not starving. And then she sees something's happened to the cat, and there's red ants everywhere. And I think it's just a bad omen for the future.
Definitely.
That is like, she's doing what she needs to do, but guess what? That cat was not saved. That cat disappeared. And I think that's going to allude to the fact that they're in that killer, which is you want to talk about the ADT?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wait.
No,
I'm
so excited.
ADT
Serviceman.
A serviceman.
They even say his name. I go back and I watch it, and there's a scene. Let's go into context with this.
Wait. Let's finish the cat story.
I thought we did.
No, because you keep doing that on all my stories. You keep cutting me off, and I don't finish any of them.
Continue with the cat story. My story is more interesting. So
I didn't even get to the Talking Heads. Finish the Talking Heads thing.
You liked it there at the end.
No, the thing is that Talking Heads, most people don't realize that the album came out in 1977. Everybody thinks the album came out that song came out in the 1980s. It did not. It came out in 1977. It was a hit. The show's based in 1978.
Yes. No, yeah, I'm agreeing, yes.
Yeah, okay, well, moving on. Anyway, so the cat. Her reaction as she sees all these ugly red ants, she jumps back and she jumps back. She doesn't throw the cat away, nothing. She doesn't pick it up. It startles her.
Yeah.
And at that moment, you realize this lady has a tender heart.
Yeah,
this lady has a tender heart, and
her facial expression was very. Went from startled to sad to.
So when we go into starting to implement these, now it's just interviewing. Let's see when they start to implement how she is going to react when they are going to struggle finding this particular killer. Now, John Douglas, again, the person that's based the FBI, he wrote the Mindhunter book, but he also wrote another book, 30 Years Tracking the...
Yeah.
The ADT guy.
Oh, yes. Well, I want to get into context with this.
30 Years Tracking the...
No, hold on, no.
Oh my gosh.
I want this reveal.
Okay, 30 Years Tracking a killer that Alex doesn't want to talk about.
No, we're going to talk about it. But let me put it into context. So, he's in 8 episodes. More or less the beginning of each episode, you start noticing the following around this man. And you don't know why he's just, like, there. But you know that he's going to, like, do something. He starts laying out clothes, tape, whatever. He starts just acting really... really weird. And the fact that they're following around in the first like minute or so of each episode shows he's gonna have some significance. He's an ADT serviceman, as they put him on the what is it, the IDB?
Oh, he's an ADT serviceman because he's in the episode installing security, and he has the thing saying ADT.
But lo and behold, I'm
on
going
his
to
t-shirt.
I'm going to blow your mind. I'm going to tell you who this person actually is if you haven't already looked it up like I did. He is actually the BTK killer. The killer who, oh man, which I find it, okay, this is what I find odd.
Did you take notes here?
I read it. But this is what I find odd. So he starts killing, but they don't apprehend him. He doesn't stop killing until, 91 or something, the early 90s? They don't even apprehend him until the early 2000s. So it's interesting that they introduce a killer that they ultimately won't catch within the time span that they're working the show into.
Okay, so it just got announced. Season 2 is going to be based in Atlanta. Okay. They're going to have more African American songs, what they're saying. So I don't know if it's going to be disco or if it's going to be
Are they bringing back
R&B.
Holden and Bill?
Oh, yeah, they're going to bring back...
I'm just saying, the way you made it sound like they're just going to be based out of Atlanta. The FBI usually works...
Their investigation is going to be...
Gotcha.
I think that's when they're going to start implementing.
Yeah.
Because they are now, in the next season... I need to find out when this person was killing people.
Uh-huh.
But
well, this is just a theory. We
no, it's on the news. It's in the. It just got posted today. They haven't started filming yet.
Okay. But we have time for that.
So
once the new season comes out,
they're going to be playing, since it's Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a lot of, I would imagine. They said African American music. That's all they said. So I don't know if it's going to be blues or R&B or there was a lot of Motown, even though that's more Detroit, but still, you need to listen to that in Atlanta. So I'm pretty jazzed here about that. So that's where we might be able to see if she's going to if they're gonna bring Wendy Moore out,
like into the interviews. I doubt that
they're not going to have her in interviews.
Yeah.
But if they're looking for a killer, let's see if they're going to have her participate or not. Even if she isn't participating, she's still going to go over all of their notes. Yeah. And then the weasel. I'm sorry. All of their notes to approve and make sure they're doing their job.
The weasel. He has a name, and I'm pretty sure it's Greg
Robert
Smith.
Paulson. Sorry.
Wow. We didn't even talk about that.
We're not going to, but the weasel. I'm just calling him the weasel because there's this other person who works in the office with them, and he not only got
But
put
the
in
new
there,
agent was hired.
he was recommended by
Shepard,
which is their unit, their boss that works above on the floor above them, and it's basically their
director
boss.
unit or unit director.
They expected him to be
Unit
the
chief.
mole to Shepard. What they didn't expect is that Shepard, he's willing to turn on Shepard and anonymously rat out the unit and
know
get
what?
Shepard in trouble.
Greg,
This guy just
I'm pretty sure it's
is-
Greg Smith is his name. But you know what they point out early on in the interview is that this man's a Catholic man. This man's religious. He's the whole black and white, right and wrong, that sort of thing. And I feel that plays into a lot of his character, is that he wanted to do the quote unquote right thing.
Al Capone was a Catholic man. So what does that mean? Nothing.
Didn't people like Al Capone? Because he, like...
Yeah, but he was not a righteous man. He's Al Capone! What?
Was he considered very much like the Robin Hood or something? Or was that another...
No, I think that was Robin Hood.
No,
But no, he was charming. You're talking about John Dillinger.
That's okay. That's what I'm thinking of.
But no, Al Capone,
Yeah.
people that had met Al Capone on a level like that, they thought he was charming. But most of those guys they were bootlegging, they were making money. And who wasn't happy when they're making money?
So we're going to find out in the next season whether or not they find out Greg Smith turned in this tape. And on the tape is basically Holden talking to Richard Speck. And he starts off by saying a derogatory term. I'm going to say it. He said cunt.
Why say that?
He basically starts the interview off talking Speck's language, as he puts it, in attempt to lower Speck's walls and get him to talk. And he did this before with Brutus by showing him a woman's shoe. And it was basically anything and everything to make it seem like they're trying to be friends with them.
The shoe.
Not that close to the microphone.
The shoe. The black stiletto shoe.
Okay, but let me finish with
Yeah,
the tape.
see, down the feels.
You're getting off track here. So, the tape has him saying, "What right did you have taking, 8 right fresh cunts out of this world?" Something along those lines. And he tells him when he's subscribing, the notes, basically, don't bother putting the first 3-5 minutes in. Just,
Because it's
out of
offensive.
Well, Bill told him that it was offensive, but out of respect, he should take that off. Holden, at this point, was already down the rabbit hole and thinking like, well, there's nothing wrong with it. I don't have a problem with it. Nobody else should have a problem with it. He's already starting to get that narcissistic edge to him. That everything he does is right, and he was in right to do what he did. Whether or not he wasn't the point. It's the point that he's really avoiding taking advice from anybody. So, Greg has this...
I'm sorry, continue on.
Yeah, so Greg has the tape. They get called in to basically the FBI version of IA, Internal Affairs, but it's like the Department of Justice, I think they're called.
Yeah.
The DOJ.
Yeah, the Department of Justice.
So they get called in because there was an issue. Speck got beat up for being considered a snitch when they arrived or after they left, because when they arrived, there was this big debacle or kind of a scene that it made him show that Richard Speck was going to be interviewed by the FBI. So there was the human rights violation that Richard Speck was claiming. They do the interview. They just bring the transcript, and it shows that there was an audio malfunction, so none of the first part of it where Holden uses derogatory terms is mentioned.
Long.
And they just move on from there. They're like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. Richard Speck's a garbage human being anyways. It wasn't until later that for some reason Greg decides he's going to mail this tape in.
The Weasel decides to mail a tape in, which is the cassette tape, and he mails it in to above everybody's boss.
Yeah, after Shepard already told him...
bury it.
Yeah, We all know a secret.
Yes,
we just need to bury it.
I said that in the first thing. I was like, yeah, he's a weasel. He is willing to go above his
the
boss.
point is, are we going to learn this in season? Are they going to learn this in season 2? And what are the reactions going to be?
Here's what it means. Okay.
Yeah.
1. Do you have to sit there and put your faith at the door and do your job? If you can't do your job because your faith interferes, then you need to leave.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be
one thing. Second thing is he right that he has to get in the mud with these guys and talk their level, or is Wendy right when she says you cannot do that because it's going to interfere with
the data
with the questionnaire, and it's kind of, I am kind of siding with him because, obviously in the beginning Ed Kemp was more than happy to share. He wanted friends, really wanted friends. He was very lonely. He wanted friends. But the other serial killers don't care to have friends. They already know they're popular. They already know they're famous. They get a lot of fan mail. They already have friends. They don't need the FBI
quote
agent.
Unquote friends.
Yeah, so they don't care. They're really disturbed. They are there to get something out of it, even if it's a shoe. So that's the difference. So now he has to actually get on their level and talk to them in their level.
Yeah.
Now, this comes down to the difference between somebody who studies and somebody who works in the field.
Yes.
And that is why freaking his partner in crime, Tench, does it kind of like pauses with him but doesn't stop him, and does not particularly like going to these interviews because he could see that it changes
a person,
and he could start seeing that it's changing Holden, and he's concerned, and it's really nice that he's concerned, not to be mean to him. He's concerned because he's really concerned for him as a person.
And I think the only reason why he continues is that he knows this is...
And he doesn't know how to stop it, and that's why he goes to Wendy, because Wendy is in that field of minds.
And the only reason why he continues to go to these interviews, I mean, except for that one with Jerry Brudos, was because he knows that this can help people. They've already implemented it a couple of times where they caught the killer, and he knows this profiling can work, but at what cost?
Yeah,
I mean, we ended the season with Holden on the brink of like insanity, or on the brink of basically having a panic attack. He's breaking. Ed Kemper had just tried to commit suicide in order to get Holden down to visit him, and which he does. Holden comes down to his hospital room to visit him, and it's there that you get the biggest creep show of Ed's personality at that point, where he sees one of the orderlies leave, so they're all alone, him and Ed and Holden, and he gets up and he basically says, I could kill you right now and they wouldn't find you. I don't know, I do whatever I want to you until they found you, something along those lines. And then he just gives him a hug, and Holden just like freaks out and then pushes him away and just like runs, which I of course would too. That's terrifying. The guy was huge. The guy's like, he's 6'9" in real life.
Yes.
He's huge.
He's huge, and the actor looked bigger. Now there was a lot of CGI going on, and unfortunately I don't have that stuff. I should have, but I recommend everybody go in and search up the internet, because I was kind of glancing over an article where they're saying that, you know, there was a lot of CGI in there.
I wonder if it's just like the facial to get them to look more like whoever they were trying to portray.
Anyway, so if anybody looks that up.
So what I'm interested in, are they going to still introduce the BTK killer in the second season? Are they gonna?
No, I doubt. Well, they may introduce him as killer. But
Yeah.
they're not going to catch him in the
No,
second season.
no. That's what I mean. In just the fact that are we gonna still get those snippets in the beginning of each?
If we have more than 2 seasons
Mhm.
of this show,
Yeah.
okay. If the show is just a few years, or maybe in the 80s, 1980 or something, they don't catch him. I don't know. I've heard nothing but great reviews for this show, but you're saying that you've heard bad reviews.
I saw one that gave it 2.5 stars, and I was really surprised. I was kind of like, really? I mean, it's not a thriller. It's not suspense. It's pure drama. This is a drama show.
Maybe what they thought was because it was going to have the serial killers, the stars were going to be the serial killers, and we're going to actually relive their flashbacks to their childhood, or
Right.
flashbacks to
So like
them
a Criminal
killing.
Minds sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that they don't show that, because that's not really what we're signing up for.
No.
Because if we saw Ed Kemp killing one person, we wouldn't feel any sympathy for him.
Yeah.
And when you
The
hear
sad part
him,
is
we
I do
have
feel
no
sympathy
sympathy for
for
that
him.
one
I just-
character.
I don't want to, because he's a freaking psychopath.
Yeah.
I really don't want
It's
to.
constantly writing, "You're my only friend," and I mean, you have
That's
sympathy
so
for his
sad.
character. And then when you meet the other characters and see how horrible they act, you
Oh
don't
my
have
God.
sympathy for
No.
those characters.
They're freaks.
So it's they're all.
They're all freaks, but they're more freaky. Oh.
So
But
you
it's
sit
good
there-
writing. The writing's
Yeah,
terrific, and
but
the
you don't-
acting's
you-
amazing.
You don't know what to expect. Each serial killer is different. You don't know what to expect, and if you start showing the murders, then you're like, oh my gosh, we know what to expect.
Yeah.
And it would kill. You would be appalled to even see these guys talk to them like they're human beings. If you would see the pictures of them killing these women, the fact that they would sit down and try to get down to their level would just disgust. It would alienate me, and it would alienate most people.
Yeah.
But we don't see that, so therefore, and
We see the pictures.
but they do start off with. But they showed you the pictures. They even talked about. They even showed some of the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Where this one picture's tame. It actually, you could see this in a Playboy magazine or something like that, or in a girly magazine.
Well, yeah. I mean, the only difference is that they would be alive.
No, there was pictures that they took before they had killed their victims, and they had like the waist down.
Yeah, but that was
take pictures of
with
the shoes.
Jerry Brudos. That was hit or miss.
I cannot wait to the next season.
Let's
It's gonna be good.
hold on. Let's go with where we left off with this season. So we have Holden panic attacking. We haven't
even discussed his girlfriend either.
Well, yeah.
She's good looking.
She
helps him.
reminds me of my gosh, I can't think of her name, and I always call her 13 from The House.
And Olivia Wilde.
Yes, that's who she reminds me of.
She does remind me of Olivia Wilde. I was thinking the same thing.
Mm-hmm. For a second, I had to like double take, and I was wondering if it was her or not. I was like, would she? Because she's now a movie star. She wouldn't go back to, if anything, like.
Well, I don't know if she's a successful movie star. She's done some movies though, and she goes drinking at the Varnish in L.A.
Oh my god. Moving on. But yeah, but you saw that relationship dissolving soon. She ends up breaking up with them, mainly because all he's concerned about is his job and his work, and he doesn't.
But you know what? For the season, it's a very good relationship. It's they get what they need from each other.
Yeah.
And it's very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And you obviously see it's not going to work out because he's very FBI, and she's very the opposite of FBI. Very hippie, very free love.
And you know what I find interesting though? I'm sorry to interrupt, but you see his relationship dissolve with Debbie, his girlfriend, and yet on the flip side, you see Bill's relationship with his wife. They kind of make a connection.
Well, the flipper side, Wendy just dumps her hot.
We're talking towards the end.
Lover.
We're talking more towards the end of the series between like where they started off and where they are now. But yeah, Wendy is still alone on the sad note of that.
She got a can of ants.
But then, I mean, she can't.
She doesn't even have a cat. She just has cans of ants.
Yeah, this is the time that you mentioned before that she can't really be open with her sexuality, especially since they're doing this profiling.
Yes, because they're studying, obviously sexual deviant
behavior.
And
yes.
At this moment, in the 70s,
homosexuality was considered
deviant. Was it still considered deviant? There's some people that consider it deviant.
Well, it was still in the early stages of being accepted and still being rejected, and this was still before profiling was a thing.
So yes, I cannot wait next season if she's going to come out.
Because 78 is a little late.
I want to see how Tench reacts to this, because he seems somewhat traditional. I want to see how the Weasel, the Catholic. I'm Catholic, so I'm not putting down Catholics, but the Weasel is still the Weasel.
He's a weasel because he turned in that evidence.
Yeah, you know how many Catholics I know have done so much crappy things, but you don't rat him out. I mean,
snitches get stitches.
That's a Catholic motto.
That's a Catholic motto.
I can't believe.
But no. So, but what I like about the series in general is that they really put the relationships in the back burner because they're not important. The important part is the characters themselves and their progression.
But yes, well, I want to see if she comes out to be homosexual. If Tench is going to be, if he's going to be okay with it, he should be okay because he's known her for a long time.
Yeah.
But let's see if Holden is, or Holden's good, because Holden is being such a prick. If he's going to be like weird,
I don't know. He seemed to have been really more open-minded with Debbie when it came to doing new and different stuff. Like, she smoked weed in front of him.
He was open-minded with women that want to have sex with them. Men are more closed-minded with good-looking women that don't want to have sex with them. I find, but I could be wrong, but I find that to be true.
God. Are you profiling men now?
All of a sudden, survey amongst.
All of a sudden, she's a top-notch profiler. No. But okay, so
we went over the girlfriend.
Yeah. Last episode, we have Ed in.
I don't think any of these men have been homosexual.
Well,
that they have interviewed so far,
right? No, I don't think. I mean, they talk about Jerry Brutus blurring the lines between gender, but not saying he's homosexual. Most likely just a cross-dresser. Because there was a victim where he actually did dress up like a woman before he abducted her. And then his fascination with women's shoes, stealing women's shoes, trying them on, all this sort of things.
So, in conclusion.
Wait, hold on. Let's talk about where these characters are. The last episode. Where I'm trying to get to. So we have Holden having a nervous breakdown. I'm not quite sure where Bill is at this point. If that was the episode where he was kind of getting a connection with his wife after basically telling her, like, this is what I'm doing to protect you, and she just hugs him.
That Bill, throughout the episodes,
he seems like the most stable out of them all.
Is the rock.
Yeah.
And Bill is the one who actually brings in, and it's really true, listens to his partner's theories, but looks at him as a young man, but wants to do something because he wants to further help the sheriffs and the local police. So he, without realizing it, like I didn't realize at the time, but I realize it now, he's the one who gets the least amount of credit. Who's probably the least amount of I don't want to say he has bad. He's an FBI. He's not. He has high IQ, but
yeah,
he's not this brilliant profile or whatever. But he is the one who really is the. I want to say, yeah, kind of the leader, because both Holden and Wendy trust him.
Are we not going to mention the fact that the character, the person who plays Bill Tench was on Fight Club?
No. Listen. So they both trust him. And Wendy was very hurt when the Weasel when they get ratted out, and there's Wendy was hurt. That he goes, "Did you do this?"
Well, she was talking
says,
about
no.
priors.
Yeah.
Like we need to be transparent. We need to come clean. But then as soon as Shepard shuts it down
so I'm
after
hoping
the interview,
I'm hoping that whole investigation that they're going to go through,
it was just a divide. Now we have everybody basically
not trusting everybody.
Exactly.
And I'm hoping
this is no longer a team.
Okay. This could be a team again if the Weasel one gets caught, or that was the big thing. That's how you see the divide. The divide was only if Tench turned around on Wendy and was like, "Did you do this?" I don't think he's going to turn on Holden because he knows Holden was the one who's getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And Holden is very, very much becoming the son he never had.
Yeah.
He's the brilliant son he never had.
The sad part is Holden would have he would have accepted it. He would have been like, "Yeah, I did it." Yeah. So,
but he was trying to protect Holden. He was trying to protect Holden. He already knew Wendy well enough to know this thing. She's not going to like this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just smooth it over and go forward because he's a good leader.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you need a leader. Doesn't always have to be the smartest person. The leader is the one who knows how to get along well with everyone.
Yeah.
And get everyone to know how to do their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The people under him can be smart.
And I like how even though he's an older character, he's not close-minded what you would expect an older character to be.
Yes.
You know?
That's okay, yeah, because he went to Wendy and talked to her, and she's a woman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if later on,
yeah,
because he's FBI, he's not dumb.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we find in the second season or the third season that he always knew she was lesbian.
That would be interesting. I would appreciate that, actually.
That she
I would have more. Not that I don't have any respect for Bill now, but I would have a lot more respect too.
That he always knew, because kind of like she never talks about men, so like he always knew that, and that's kind of why he didn't have to worry about her coming on the team.
Yeah.
Because there's always a problem with women's coming on. Not always a problem, but when you have somebody like Holden who he's already making passes at her and everything.
Very weak passes, but sure, passes.
But nevertheless, Bill never had to talk with them.
Well, so
and it's kind of like that's odd because normally
Holden asked him, like, "So did you guys ever?" He's like, "What?"
Asked him.
He shut it down completely.
Yes. No, but he never had to talk to Holden like, "Hey, do not poo where you eat. Do not date your female coworkers."
Yeah, but if you already knew she was a lesbian,
exactly, if she already knew.
Funny to watch him struggle.
Exactly. So that's why I'm wondering if he. Later in episodes, it's gonna come out, and then he turns around like, "You already knew all this time."
But towards the end of the season, you already could tell that Holden was no longer interested in any sexual relationship with Wendy.
Oh, at this
point,
point,
when he first met her and idolized her, then it was like, "Oh my God, she has all these things that I don't know that I could know." It wasn't until later on that he starts becoming narcissistic.
Okay, he thinks he knows everything now.
Yes.
Okay, but he's gonna break. Realize that he knows nothing.
Yes.
And then at this point, he needs to go to somebody that can help him. And who's that going to be? It's gonna be Wendy and Tench, because Tench is gonna care.
I don't know. You know what? I feel like he's gonna go back to Debbie.
Debbie don't want him.
No, I get it. But
everybody wants to go cry on their ex's show.
He's gonna want to go back to Debbie because I feel like he would get attacked.
But she's pretty cold.
Wendy.
She's pretty cold, and she is willing to. And
but she's not technically a colleague.
Okay. Wendy, on the other hand, as we discover with the cat,
is so pathetic.
As we discover with the cat,
is
all about. She is all about. I'm hard. She has a soft heart though.
Yes,
she has a soft heart for when she sees.
So you have to look at it through Holden's eyes. He doesn't know this yet. He doesn't realize.
Yeah, but when he's breaking, everybody else is gonna see him breaking.
But he's at the hospital, so it could be that they put him in a room and they find out that he's there, Bill and Wendy, and they go see him, and that's when things start rolling.
Okay, well, you know what? All this is for our next podcast.
So I'm gonna
not spoilers.
Yeah,
but. Theories of things we want to see, killers we want to see, what we want to see happen. Like
they won't put Manson in. I don't think they will.
Manson was already caught.
No, they were talking about how they had an interview scheduled with Manson. I don't think they'll ever do it. I think he's too high profile of a case.
No,
everybody knows Manson, you know.
He was high profile at camp. All these...
But they don't actually interview the BTK killer.
Okay, even if they, I don't know. I'm not gonna say I don't know. I don't think Manson would give him anything. I don't know if they interview. Gosh, I don't know if they interview Bundy. I think Bundy was caught by now. 78. I don't know if he was caught and executed yet or not.
He was executed. I do remember. I don't know what day, but
what year?
What year? But that would be chilling.
I think.
I'm surprised they don't even mention him.
Okay, because I know on the radio show he does talk to Bundy.
He doesn't or does?
He does, because he talks about Bundy. So I believe he does in real life, but I don't know if it's after.
Okay, so I would say this is definitely a series worth watching, and I highly suggest it, as do you, I'm assuming.
Yes, of course, I want to stress it to you.
You know, maybe just, I don't know your feelings
hopefully
on it
we can
yet.
come back with another podcast, and we're going to mention a few things that we hope to find out and not see, you know.
Right. Characters and whatnot. And then we'll be reviewing other series from Netflix or movies, etc., etc. So stay tuned. Until next time.